Welcome back. Today on Sunrise Daily, we just focus on the fight against corruption. Just getting an inside look of perspectives from the EFCC. I know you know that only recently on the floor of the House of Representatives, there's this bill that they're considering, which we also highlighted in some of the previous opening sequence. But now we focus on that and perhaps a lot more here, as we're joined by Mrs. Farida Waziri, the chairman of EFCC. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you, Chamberlain.
Well, it's interesting, especially at this time, so much going on, the trial of a whole lot of ex-governors, the current ones speaking up as though they're being targeted, and as though to add to all of that, the House of Representatives now seeking to amend the bill, the EFCC Act. So if that does happen, who knows? But then, from what you've been, the way you've been going on as the chairman of EFCC, the matters you have in court, maybe we may not be able to delve into them now since they're in court, but give us the challenges you're facing at this moment. Are you in any way faced, for instance, with the most recent move on the floor of the House of Representatives?
Well, thank you so much. Fight against corruption, there are always challenges, lots of them, especially in a country like Nigeria, because corruption is endemic, and not everyone arrested to face corruption charges takes it lightly. You find that there are always reasons or excuses proffered by them as to why they're being arrested. They say it's political opponents. They say it's enemies that bought the EFCC. And failure between the two, they now say, well, because they're rising political profile. So there's no one come up to say, yes, I did this, and feel a sign of remorse. And so we have a lot of challenges, and the fight against corruption, they fight you back in various ways. There are intrigues, they cultivate ways of fighting you back, and that is why I said it's like even holding a tiger by the tail. If you don't take care, a tiger will devour you. It's as serious as that.
Well, some Nigerians will say, the FCC deliberately holds the tiger by the tail when they have the cage to put the tiger in it, because sometimes they believe that the FCC comes after these suspects, alleged suspects, before going to look for the facts. So why is it that sometimes you have those people in your custody, then you still continue looking out for some other facts before you now present them before law courts? So we're talking about, once upon a time we get to see maybe 101 counts on just one person. Then at the end of the day we have to see that everything will now amount to maybe about 3 or 4. So why don't you go all out, look for what exactly you want from that particular individual and hit it, and just say it could be a 1-count charge and we just follow it through and through?
Yeah, thank you very much. I've read about that, these accusations, counter-accusations, but it's not true that we go for the accused before looking for our facts. We receive petitions from most Nigerians, or from ministries or other departments of government. We also have our intelligence unit to get us intelligence on the activities of graft in this country. Once we get this, what we do is to go into investigation. We investigate. If it's talking about a company, we're going to investigate the company from corporate affairs. We're going to the bank to investigate lodgements. We're going to MTN to investigate. If it's something that transcends Nigeria, we're going to contact our counterparts out there, the Met Police, and we do all of this, and we feel that we have a prima facie case before we go for the person. In ideal situation, international best practice is suspect comes last, and it's very interesting if you are a detective and you have all your facts put before you and you go for your man, and it makes it a lot easier. And I met a lot of officers in the EFCC. They are professionals, they are well trained, and there's no reason. I think this is just argument from detractors. As for numerous counts, if you're talking about a governor, for instance, he's done 8 years So you're looking at charges within this 8 years, and one count goes for one action. If today you remove 5 million, for instance, it goes for one count because the date, venue of the offense differs. And then again, if you want to seize asset, for instance, all this counts. And apart from that, when we have to amend charges, sometimes once the man is in court, you find people coming to volunteer information. Even the best hand people that they use in handling this now realizes that, oh wow, there was so much money involved, I didn't know, or maybe I was shortchanged, and they come forward with documentary proof, and then we have to amend charges as the case may be.
Yeah, go ahead.
Now that will be part of the investigation that the people will be talking about, because a host of people, this came up when you began to ask for special courts to try corruption cases to make it a little more speedy. People said that it's the fault of the EFCC that they haven't been able to make good use of the courts that we have at hand. The question will be, let's compare cases here. Take for instance the Bode George case. The Human Rights Report recently released said that case was efficiently executed. What would you say helped the particular case, that it was concluded in record time, and that you lack in a host of other cases that you have presently?
Well, it's okay. It's true. That was one case in a million. I think it depends on the personality of the judge. That was a very, very determined young man. And I'll tell you something, he's paying even dearly for that. He was removed from trying EFCC cases to probate. And somebody said, well, so he can jail top shots of the party, let him go and try divorce and deaths. We had a program in Cambridge University where he attends. We sent a letter. He was unable to attend. We had something in Lagos here, Le Meridian, I think Chamber of Commerce. I saw his name as one of the speakers. He did not come. I thought something was wrong. And all this because he's being punished, because he did that.
You strongly believe that he's being punished because of that?
Yes, I believe it. I believe.
So do you think...
one other, Rotimi Jacob, for instance, is due for a son. He's been trying EFCC cases since 2003. And when it was time for him to, somebody said, well, let EFCC give him the son. It's like it's a crime to work in the EFCC or to fight corruption in this country. So what you're saying, that it's a lot of misgivings, misconception put out to mislead and to make people hate the EFCC and what they stand for.
So are you saying, because we're still on the matter of courts here, are you saying that the courts are not necessarily slow, but also depends to a large extent on the personality of the judges?
Well, you should be the judge. If an advance fee fraud case takes 6 months, recently we got one, the man attempted 45 million, 3 counts charges, he was sentenced to 15 years, 5 years each count. 6 months. But the case of the politically exposed persons is taking 4 years, 5 years. Why is it? I mean, you can put 2 and 2 together and get 4.
Now that's what brings us back to the fact that, not to the fact, but to the allegation that you actually go to court without enough evidence. And that's what slows it.
Let the case be thrown out. These cases that I'm talking about, there has been no single case that has been thrown out due to lack of adequate investigation or evidence. The lawyers, the sons that this group of people hire, once they see from proof of evidence that this is a bad case, if the case goes to logical conclusion, their client definitely will end up in prison. They do everything to delay it. So it is not the EFCC. Just one case should be thrown out. Name one that was thrown out because there was no evidence or it was not properly investigated. Name just one.
I'm quite sure you'll be worried and disturbed if you listen to what Nigerians say, especially when they hear any big name being maybe tried by the EFCC. They go like, just one of those things. It's a smoke screen. Once you were quoted to have said, I think it was a body of lawyers, I quote you, I have been vilified for something I do not know anything about. I woke up one morning to see people discussing on TV a list set to be written by EFCC. I'm a lawyer of many years standing, and I obey the rule of law. So, and of course, let's stop it there. So, the stories that you get to see, and you see people discuss some issues on television, is it not because the EFCC has not been able to remove some kinds of doubts in the minds of people, because they still believe that, well, in some cases, maybe a Mr. X somewhere in state A gets maybe 80 years jail term, and one ex-minister or ex-governor gets maybe like a handshake. When we talk about handshake, maybe just a couple of days in jail and he's out, while the man who is a Mr. Nobody spends forever in jail.
Yeah, that's why you're there. You should use this medium to inform the people of what is going on. The law is for everybody. The law is no respecter of persons. Everybody is equal before the laws of the land. And where other people are shortchanged, like I mentioned, internet fraud, cyber crime, advanced fee fraud cases are dispensed with quickly. This other group, they can afford 5 senior advocates. And what they do is delay tactics. And I have a copy of the Establishment Act here, where delays is even prohibited from the
delays from the court cases.
Yes, from EFCC cases. You know, I have section 19 here, sub A, B, and C. And it is said that to ensure that all matters brought before the court by the Commission against any person, body, or authority shall be conducted with dispatch and given accelerated hearing. And sub C said to adopt all legal measures necessary to avoid unnecessary delays and abuse in the conduct of matters brought by the Commission before it or against any person, body, or authority. It's there. But if a case takes 4 years, for God's sake, I have a case, I'll just give you brief facts of that case, not the case is in court. Let me just say XYZ was charged to court. He took plea, pleaded not guilty, and the date was fixed. That was 2006. Date for hearing was fixed for January 2007. Before then, he went back and took an ex parte motion without notice of the EFCC. They don't put EFCC on notice. And we argued the case. He appealed to Court of Appeal. Court of Appeal said he should go back and stand his trial. He went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court said he should go back to stand trial. He went to ask for stay of proceedings. Section 19 also disallows this, that there should be no interlocutory injunctions or stay of proceeding in EFCC cases. He asked for stay.
Did he get it?
He didn't get it. He went back again. The second time, the case is in Supreme Court. And the date for hearing, for ruling, is 28th of December 2011. December and 2012 is around the corner. The man wants to stand for gubernatorial elections. So these are the kind of delay. Twice cases going to Supreme Court. Is there nothing that can be done? We want Nigerians, because this is our country. We owe it a duty to do what is right, to bequeath this country to even the next generation. But what we have is endemic corruption, and people to do exactly what they like, what is not allowed by law. And then instead of the people like you also to enlighten Nigerians, it's all efforts, everybody's fight. Then there's this misconception, oh, it's the EFCC. If the EFCC is doing a shoddy job, please let us go to trial with dispatch, so that the man will be discharged and acquitted on merit.
Okay, so that's what the special court will be seeking to deal with.
Yeah, at least there would be a time frame. Just like INEC cases, at least maybe 1 year, or maybe at least, but not indefinitely. That, you know, people do this and get away with it. We tried the UNODC. They came from London, drafted a bill on asset forfeiture, civil as against criminal. We went to the House, we sat with them, they had their input. and they brought back the draft. We did the same thing. We all moved to Kaduna. We did the same sitting, public hearing, sort of. And the bill was taken to the House. It spent, within 2 weeks, it was just thrown out. You know, so you can't get conviction, you can't get asset. People will just loot, and then they will have a field day. The case is not dispensed with. The asset is not forfeited to government, and so the other people are looking.
Well, tell us about this, because it pops up again. We also heard it previously, before you came on board, the EFCC saying the EFCC is being used as a political tool. We heard governors say they are being targeted. What can you tell us about that?
Well, I think that is their own interpretation. I am not aware of anyone using anything as political tool. If you're saying that they're using as political tool, we have charges. It's in court. Let the court decide whether it's trump-up charges or real charges. I don't think so. There has been no such. I've had it. It's just like what I've been trying to tell you, that this is what happens. People don't like to lose their liberty. They want to eat their cake and have it. When you touch them, they bring all sorts of reasons why. And now politics is the in thing in Nigeria. You know, there's no much business, so everybody goes into politics for a reason other than serving the people. So when you touch them, they bring all sorts of reasons to give. I don't know why they do it, but maybe they're doing it to please their own family members or extended family, you know.
Tell us about plea bargaining. Nigerians will be very interested in that, because I think Sulaiman already raised the point about plea bargaining. Recently, you settled for plea bargaining with one Finbank director, Danjuma Ocholi, who allegedly stole 16.2 billion naira. And well, the details of that are not out yet, but they say that you have settled with a plea bargain. What exactly is it, and how does it work?
Well, yeah, I'm glad you used the word allegedly. That's a whooping sum, but the facts of the cases are in court together with. I have not settled for plea bargaining as such. These are cases that we're doing together with Central Bank and some external solicitors. We sit together, we meet now and again and rub minds. I know there was a letter about plea bargaining. We have not gone fully into that. And the amount you're talking about, this is another area again. There are situations where amounts, people get to newspapers and bring out certain amounts, alarming figures.
Okay, I'll quote another one. This one is from the Human Rights Report about Mr. Lucky Igbenedion, former governor of Edo State, who allegedly took about $25 million in public fund and gave back 25,000, which is about just a percentage of what he allegedly pilfered from the state coffers. So what do you say to that?
Yes, that's the one case I've repeatedly mentioned this case, just that case. Personally, I don't like plea bargaining. When I got to the EFCC, I didn't know this delay tactics, so I said cases must be taken to logical conclusions. And then the court pronounces on even the assets. I preferred it, a neat way, you know, that way. But the plea bargaining came about when a lot of my officers and some lawyers came together and said that, well, Lucky Igbenedion wanted to go into plea bargaining and forfeit some of the assets and go in for 6 months imprisonment. That was, the two sides sat together and they deliberated and came up that he is going to forfeit some of his assets and also go to 6 months imprisonment. But in spite of myself, you know, that was the one plea bargaining I got involved in, and I wanted to also see how it worked, and the feeling that if cases are endless, half bread is better than nothing. Let us go into it and see what others will do. So that was the first test case, but I was so disappointed because the aspect of the judge, again, he was fined, he was not sent to prison for 6 months, as was the arrangement. So I was very disappointed. We appealed against that, and the matter is still there. These are some of the things that I'm talking about.
Okay.
Because and plea bargaining is necessary. It's not in our laws. It's kind of an imported law, but in advanced countries they do it a lot.
The reason why is that.
Yeah.
Sorry, the reason why it's important that people understand it is because, I mean, even in local songs, you hear it. Someone who steals a goat is sent to prison endlessly, and someone who steals so much money, robs a state dry, is allowed to just forfeit a percent of it and then, go scot-free.
As far as I know, the plea bargaining in the case of Lucky Ibenedion, we've not tried it again, but you look at the merits of it. What do you want? Do you want the man to steal billions and go away forever unpunished, and the assets of the state is enjoying? Others are saying it, So when I was, it's not in our law books, but when my foreign partners said, look, this is it. What do you expect? You have cases.
Can it
5
be
years.
stiffer than it is? Because, I mean, even if someone is going to go away without serving time, the person should be able to feel the pain of what he or she has done.
Yeah, if you forfeit a lot of your assets, and you go to jail, even if it's for 1 day, you are a convict. So the stigma is there. So we were looking at this, but it's so painful that nothing happens. And you now dispose of that asset gradually or through proxy, and you shall change the state, and others are watching that. Oh, crime pays, because this is your mansion you build with proceed of fraud, and
really
you're able to get away with it.
I'm sorry to box in here. You see, this Lucky Benedion case, is 1 in a million, 1 in 1,000. But again, don't you think that stuff like that shouldn't be done? Because it kind of encouraged people to even put their hands into all of this, and they say, well, at the end of it all, when I come out, I drop maybe this little amount in the ocean, and I go with the entire loot. So, so we're a little bit worried when you talk about the foreign, should I say, experts who are kind of maybe legal advisors of the commission.
Yes, but then look at it this way. What do you want? The man stole the state dry. He goes away, living happily ever after with his family, and nothing happens to him. Which is better? Do you get a little thing and then send him to prison? You get some asset back to government, or you just let him walk away? I mean, it's so sad if that. I don't like plea bargaining at all. It's not our law, and I want the man to go to court to logical conclusion. Okay. But when you look at it, a bird in hand is worth 2 in the bush, and then the man gets away with everything. I mean, it's really sad, okay? So when I look at it, I said, well, the only soft spot I have for plea bargaining is that somebody is a convict, and at least something is returned. But I am not, after the Lucky Benedion's matter, I have not seriously thought about going into plea bargaining. If at all we have to do it again, it will be very, very strict. We will not play into that, and we will be sure of the judge that we are going to go to will not play into anyone's hands.
But the budget matters. I mean, year in, year out, we see trillions now, not just billions, trillions budgeted for our country. Does EFCC get any case or petitions about the budget? Those who have failed in one way or the other, connected with the poor implementation of the budget? Because we're even seeing spent budgetary allocations going back, even from the House of Representatives or the Senate. Do you have any cases in hand at the moment about that?
Well, cases pertaining to, say, ministries or ministers. We have 1 or 2 cases where monies, award of contract or contract splitting or not following due process. We have cases like that, and we charge to court. But we have not been monitoring budget effectively because we're so short-staffed, and it's also very, very difficult to penetrate these ministries and then do what we have to do.
Don't they have accounts that they publish, as it were? So?
Nowadays, now that the Minister of Finance, they've started again, and we are going to get involved.
Okay.
And I said one of our officers should be attending the meetings and collect all the allocations to states, so that we'll be able to study what was given out. And if we had the manpower, we just have 1,800, we could, monitor projects, inspect projects, and compare with allocations, and so on and so forth. But we are still mapping out strategies. We have not quite,
Okay, we'll come back to this in a moment, but now we'll have to go for the headline news. Tunde Balogun is standing by for that, but we'd like to encourage you, just keep your questions and comments coming through, and we'll take them right after the headline news when it's time for it, actually. Ayo, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, Chamberlain. The lawmakers have called for a review of the revenue sharing formula as the Senate considers the looming danger of bankruptcy in states. Well, Senator Olubunmi Adetunbi, who moved the motion, is concerned that many states in Nigeria are on the brink of bankruptcy as a result of growing wage bill associated with the implementation of the minimum wage and other financial responsibilities. He noted that data from the Governors Forum shows that 20 states face the prospect of unstable and unfavorable financial standing. So lawmakers called for a rethink of the creation of new states, as many existing states are not viable. However, others have asked the state governors to be prudent, particularly with their security votes. Well, the Minister of State for Finance, Yerima Ngama, has announced that the 2011 budget has been implemented up to 57%. Well, the Minister announced the extent of the budget implementation at a meeting with the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriation. A bill seeking to alter the Constitution and fix the 30th of September each year as a mandatory date for the President to present the yearly budget proposal also passed the second reading in the House of Representatives. The House has also adopted a motion mandating the Joint Committee on Police Affairs and Human Rights to investigate the alleged killing of Mr. Victor Emmanuel by the Nigeria Police in Bayelsa State. Mr. Warman Oguriba, who presented the motion, said Mr. Emmanuel was allegedly killed by the police on the 23rd of October for criticizing the police for extortion. Well, the committee is also to invite the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Hafiz Ringim, to speak on the matter. On the foreign scene, the United Nations Security Council has voted to end international military operations in Libya by next Monday. In March, the Council voted to authorize all necessary measures to protect civilians after the former leader Muammar Gaddafi launched a deadly assault on protesters against his rule. Last week, NATO and its partners, which had been conducting the airstrikes, said the campaign will end on October 31st. And the death toll from Sunday's earthquake in Turkey's southeast region has risen to 523. Officials say some 1,650 people were injured in the 7.2 magnitude quake, which had its epicenter in Van province. So far, 185 people have been rescued alive. In the meantime, rain and snow are hindering the rescue efforts and worsening conditions for the thousands of people already made homeless. Those are news headlines. It's still Sunrise Daily. Chamberlain, back to you.
All right, then. Thank you very much indeed, Aya. We're continuing our focus on the fight against corruption. Yes, we have the chairman of the EFCC here with us, Mrs. Farida Waziri. Well, we've got people asking questions now. They're concerned, and some of them, this comes from Gaxton. He says, well, he just wants to know if the EFCC has presidential backing, because, can't he help out with, in his words, his powers in any way, since his court matters are going this way?
The court, that's the judiciary, and there's separation of powers. But I know that, the president can advise. I recall when he appointed the new CGN, I think he did mention something about this. Corruption fight. He did. And the CGN also, in addressing judges, also mentioned, something about...
Okay, but is there any interference from any arm of government in your dispensing with your functions?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. What about the office of the AGF? There are those who say they don't understand why you have to get, in their words now, permission or, as it were, consultants from the AGF. So how does it work? AGF, EFCC?
Well, we're working together. There are certain things that have to be done by the office of the AGF, like MLAC. If we have requests from outside the country, it goes through the AGF's office, and we can't send out documents to our counterparts out there, especially when it is for prosecution. It has to go through the office of the AGF, especially countries that have treaty with Nigeria, and also repatriation of suspects or things like that. And normally also cases are tried in the name of the Attorney General of the Federation. So we have a working relationship. It's not what people are saying. We really have a cordial working relationship.
Okay, well, it would seem that corruption has been fighting back. You have said that it's like holding a tiger by the tail, and it can devour you. And it seems they have been attempts to devour you somewhat.
Many times.
Well, at some point you actually lashed out. We have you on tape lashing out, saying, "Leave me alone to do my work."
Right.
Now, what manner of interference have you experienced in the EFCC by those who do not want you to do your work?
It's so much. There, cases. Every investigator wants to know what he labored for. You work round the clock. You get evidence, you compile a case diary that can stand the test of time, you record statements. Some case files are as bulky as 5 volumes. It's a lot of paperwork. And you get witnesses at the end of the day. You don't know what is happening at the courts. And there are so many things when the case lasts for so long. Witness fatigue sets in. Witnesses are tired of going to court. In Nigeria, they call it "come today, come tomorrow." They're tired, and another thing is they may even lose memory of vital facts of the case and become at the mercy of the cross-examining counsel, defense counsel, and so many things. Witnesses may die. For instance, if you have one key witness in a very, very important case and he drops dead, that's the end of that case.
Well, how is that interfering with your own work? Because it seemed more like it was a personal attack on you and your office.
Well, it happened. I don't want to keep repeating that, but it happened that when I was coming in, there were some people who felt I shouldn't, for reasons best known to them. And when I came in, they fought that she won't last for 6 months. 6 months, she won't last, and the struggle continues.
Well, I think let me come in here, because when you talk about coming in, sorry, Mark.
Yes.
First, we must say, congratulations, because a woman doing this kind of job must be congratulated. But again, you remember at that time you were coming in, the last Commission's chairman, Nuhu Ribadu, did say before Nigeria's Senate in 2006, September to be precise, I remember, where he said 31 governors were being investigated, and I think investigations on 31 governors have been concluded, just waiting for prosecution. So everyone thought that as soon as you started work, we're going to see maybe so many
governors.
Yes, we're going to see so many cases before the law courts, but we never saw any of that.
The strike law that he who asserts must prove. I didn't make that statement. He did. He's still around. What I made on the ground was what I worked with.
I'm quite sure if you're leaving after your after expiration of your tenure in office, are you going to leave with the files as well? Because one would have expected that Mr. Ribadu should have left the files of those people he investigated.
Well, I guess he left files, and the files are federal government property. They are documents, and a very vital document. What should be done is you hand them over when you're leaving. Unfortunately, when I took over, Nuhu was not there, and the handing over was not properly. It should be the case files, monetary exhibits, and everything pertaining to those the case files, is handed over, signed for and collected. It wasn't like that. And so people keep on asking, oh, he said 31. And it was funny and strange that I didn't say, and they were attacking me for what he claimed he left.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me bring something before you. That how do they? If I have any issue with anyone and I have facts, I can write a petition. I can petition the EFCC to look into that matter, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So people have been writing petitions on some ex-presidents, and until this moment, they say the commission has refused to look into their cases. Sometimes we get email, and one of them is what I'm looking at. They say some ex-president. The commission has refused to investigate them. Are you investigating, or have you investigated any past president so far in Nigeria?
You know, we receive petitions. We do what we call diligent investigation, or covert investigation. You know, you quietly investigate without making noise, because this is someone's reputation. You don't want to destroy them by rumors or by saying so. We carry out these investigations very quietly, and if we see substance in it, we'll go ahead. If it's frivolous, we just don't bother. There are lots and lots of petitions, you know, from people who want to get even, and we don't want to use the EFCC to settle their scores. So lots of petitions are received, and then we ignore.
Okay, but for those who don't understand, I mean, can the EFCC investigate cases from 1997 or 98 or 96? From what years can
yes,
we do that?
For criminal, there's no statute bar for criminal cases.
Okay.
Anytime you can open up a criminal case
and investigate. Well, they have been suggestions. The AGF has suggested that the EFCC and ICPC be merged. Would you support that?
Well, I refuse to comment on it because I am an interested party, but I thought that the merits for the merger and demerits should be put before Nigerians to decide. What is good for the country is what should be followed. If you feel the merger, we clear the system, corruption in the society much faster, well, okay. But because I am the EFCC chairperson, so I didn't want to comment on it. What happened was we sat down, I had a committee, and they worked on the merits of a merger and demerits and left it there and passed it on.
At least you can comment on this.
Okay.
Sorry, Chamberlain. Are we winning this fight against corruption?
Well, it depends on Nigerians. It's not one person's fight. That is the mistake everybody is making. It is not. It is the masses. The Nigerian people will say, look, we have such a great country. We are so rich, so endowed. We have intelligent people. We're the 7 oil producer, but the corruption. Everybody said corruption. So if the Nigerian people today launch a kind of even silent revolution that we don't want it, it will go. We saw what happened recently in the Middle East. It's the people, it's the masses. How can one person, 1,800 cleanse the society? But the attitude of Nigeria is that they are so lukewarm, so docile. People will go to court, they will go and be clapping. They will know that this person has been sentenced. They will be fighting you. So that is the most difficult aspect. Or come forward with evidence, they will not come, and then they will take the attitude that this is witch hunt. If we continue like that, because this man is from my clan, or this man is from my religion, and things like that, this country would never.
Do you have attitudes like that within the EFCC as well? Someone is quoted as saying that there is pervasive corruption within the EFCC. What do you have to say to that?
The EFCC is made up of strange bedfellows. We have seconded staff from everywhere. We are trying to be autonomous by recruiting what we call core EFCC, but it's difficult. And then, you can't. I can vouch for myself, but we tried to set up standards. We try to ensure that there's no corruption, and if there is any, we descend very, very heavily on any such. There were 1 or 2 cases, and of a seconded staff. And he got recovered monies and put it in his account. So we went very, very serious. We tried him, we want to dismiss him, and we want to charge him to court as a civilian, because this is much more serious when it's done by officers that are meant to fight the corruption. So there, and then also we have set up some machineries to check. For instance, we have the Go case. All petitions are on the Go case, so you can tap and then see how far a matter is going. And also, before I came there, the detectives could go into their office with suspects, and anything can happen there, just 2 of them. I have interrogation rooms, so I'm monitoring what is happening in the interrogation room. I'm listening, I'm watching. So we have done a lot, but then corruption is corruption, and as long as they're human, they may be tempted and so on. But it's not what people say, there's massive corruption. No, there's no. I have, and also we took certain steps for the welfare of the men. I gave them clothing allowance, I gave them salary enhancement, I gave them hazard allowances, and if they go out, we make sure we give them allowances to stay in better hotels, and insurance cover for those who lose their lives in the course of. So all these packages, it's they dress very well, like Chamberlain here. And
I was going to ask you, but the time is already up.
We're out of time, really.
Yes.
But there's so much questions that they're all sending in here. In fact, they started by accusing us that the 15 minutes is never enough. But thank you very much indeed for coming on.
Thank you.
Farida Waziri is the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, and we've been taking a look at the entire scenario, the fight against corruption. We're back in just a moment. Please join us again.